everything that I'm seeing is everybody's doing a live event. I mean, most things aren't ticketed, but everybody's doing a live event. And then if you weren't there live, then you can just watch it later and whatever. And so you have a real different model here.
It's donation-based tickets, and all of the donations go directly to the artists. Mm-hmm. So it's not like you're giving to just the Outer Loop theater experience, you're giving directly to the people that you see perform. And we've collected numbers from our artists of how much income have you lost over the last 3 months, and some of those numbers are staggering. I think sometimes there's a misunderstanding that you can't make a living with your art, and I see people that are a part of this project that absolutely are, and the amount that they have lost out on is significant. So we thought that we wanted to make sure that if we were going to do something, that we paid the people for the art that they create. And so the donation-based tickets go directly there.
So I probably would have helped you out because you're my sister, but I wanted to put this on because I think there really is value in the project that you're doing. Why did you guys set out to do this?
It's a long story, but I'll try to make it short, which is Michael and Rachel are the co-artistic directors of the Outer Loop Theater Experience. And Michael had a significant conversation with one of his board members based on an article by Gideon Arthurs, who is the CEO of the National Canada Theatre Institute. And they talked about sort of empathy in the role of the courtroom with lawyers. And there was something in it about an empathy deficit, that we see people who are able to empathize with folks that might think similarly to them. But when it comes to having empathy for someone whose situation or belief system is not yours, that's harder for everyone. And we thought, with that and the whole pandemic, what is the role of the actor and the artist during this time, and how can we still create within a whole new set of rules? You know, the game has completely changed, but we wanted to do something that was able to bring people together. It's like everyone says we're in this together, and yet I think people might feel even more disconnected than they have before. And so how could we create something artistically that created that sense of empathy and community? And so we decided to reach out to our communities and beyond for stories. Just what is happening with you during this time? And what was really overwhelming was the number of stories, because we felt like people really needed a place to put things. You know, that there was all this stuff going on and there was nowhere really for them to talk about it, maybe, or that they didn't have permission to feel the way that they were feeling. And by offering this sort of like anonymous and sometimes not anonymous platform where you could just sort of talk to us, that we sort of met a need. So, and we weren't really sure what was going to happen. We're like, well, if we get 2 stories, you know, maybe this isn't quite what we should be doing, but we felt with the response that it was. So we took those stories in and then we paired them with 17 artists. And what's exciting about it, it's a devised piece. And we sort of said, here is what this person wrote. Create something. You are a professional, you're a mover, we have a mime, we have physical theater, we have singer-songwriters, actors, documentary filmmakers. So we have all these different, really, this ensemble of really cool people, and we sort of paired them with stories and said, go and create something, and we'll pay you, which is really important to us. And it's wild to see what people have come up with.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, is there a general theme to the types of submissions that you're getting? I mean, I know they're all different experiences, but is there something that's coming to the surface that you feel you're seeing in the work?
What is really exciting, sort of our thesis of the whole thing was, can we discover together in this project, both as producers, as artists, as audience, can we discover, okay, that's not my experience. Our experiences might be different, but are the feelings that are evoked the same? You know, feelings of love and frustration and fear and anger, can I recognize those feelings? And that is an avenue to empathy. So there's no theme, but what we see is a similar sense of maybe fear or a sense of anger or frustration or a sense of feeling uncertain or helpless or even joy, which is also one that we've seen with a couple of stories where people have written in and said, am I allowed to feel joy right now? Is that okay? So there's no one theme, but it's been a real honor and a pleasure to see and be sort of stewards of these really intimate and brave stories.
And you've taken a number of the stories. I mean, you just kind of put out an open call for submissions, but some of the stories are coming from here in Southeast Wisconsin.
Absolutely. We received over 45 stories, 8 or more of which came from Southeastern Wisconsin, because some of them are anonymous. So we're not exactly sure where they came from, but it was really exciting to start to receive submissions where we look at each other, on Zoom and say, does anybody know who that is? So
Cool.
yeah, it was really cool. And I think, very grateful to you for putting that call out. The whole point of this is it's doesn't serve its purpose if we create this art of these stories, this piece in an echo chamber. Like if we're just talking to the people that agree with us, we're not creating the change that we believe can come from this project. So the reach that we hope to have, that we create a conversation with all sides and all experiences and all belief systems, that we start to make a path towards coming together.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting too, because you mentioned how divided people are, and art is one way that we do typically come together, and yet we've been devoid of those traditional experiences where we come to the theater and we all experience different things, or we go to hear live music or dance or whatever the case may be. It's almost like now when we needed it more than ever, we didn't have that outlet even as consumers of the arts.
100%. And what we find so interesting about this time as artists is a couple of things. We're all sort of, oh, I'm so connected. I can hop on Zoom or I can FaceTime or I'm on Facebook. And yet there's so many feelings of I'm lonely, I'm in solitude, disconnection in like our digital age of connection. And I think that's because at the base human level, we are meant to be in the same room together. That thing about the theater that is so special is it's the communal breath that you take with this group of strangers that, whether you're aware or not, connects you to a greater sense of what it means to be human. And we don't have that right now. We're doing the best that we can to bring things together virtually, but it's hard because you're the first to sort of not be able to gather because that's what you do. And yet, like you said, now more than ever, we need to. So with the project, we're doing everything we can to try to simulate as much of a theater experience as we can. There's a lobby, and I don't want to give some of the stuff away because we're like super jazzed about it. But we're trying to simulate that artistic experience that you have when you're sitting in the seats and you sort of, that catharsis.
Yeah. Do you have to dress up a little bit to go to the theater?
No, you can come in your jammies. We'll take whatever you want.
Can I ask you I'm just interested in your thoughts because you are part of the arts community. Can you project out at all? Are we going to get back to going to the theater as we know it? And what are people talking about in the community as to when that may be?
That is a really tough question, and it feels very personal to each institution. I see some major theater companies saying we're not going to produce until next March. I see others having flexible timelines, and I think it's really important as supporters of the arts right now that we do everything we can to support those difficult decisions. Those leaders are trying their best to have longevity and to make it through this, and they're just trying to do the best they can because we don't know. And I, in my heart, because I've studied this and devoted so much of my life to it, I really truly hope that we can come back the way that we used to. And I wonder if we'll begin to have a greater sense of appreciation for that than we had before, because it is so special. But I don't know. I do know that artists are resilient, and we will find a way to make it happen as best as we can. And I greatly look forward to the experience of sitting in that seat and having the lights dim and you can hear the wrappers opening. Like I'm hopeful and greatly anticipating when I can do that again.